Bhakti Karen, are you there? Do you have the opening video for us for the program, or are we going to start right in? Okay, we have somebody new helping us. Thank you very much. Let's see if there's audio. There's no sound, Bhakti Karen.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the members of the Prabhupada Disciples Association and the Hare Krishna Society. And we want to welcome you to our Thursday night Caitanya-caritāmṛta reading and discussion with our lecturer, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, my friend and godbrother who is in California. And we want to thank him for his steady participation in this program to give us all insight into the transcendental world of Krishna consciousness, as explained by our spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who we have been associating with and learning from for over 50 years. So it's been quite the journey. And I saw a recent video Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu of George Harrison. He was saying how fast time carries us through the universe. And it's interesting to note that he has been dead from this mortal plane for over, I think, 15 years. Who would have thought? So he said, time is something that you don't expect it to move as fast as it does. But 15, 20 years goes by in a flash. I know in my Facebook social media page, they always show memories of me 9 years ago or 10 years ago or 11 years ago. I go, boy, this is really keeping pace of how time is moving so quickly for all of us. So we're very fortunate to have this service that we have to Srila Prabhupada to protect his legacy. And I've been reading a very interesting book, Mother Rochisha, called Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. And it brought to mind the idea of bridge preaching that has been introduced to the ISKCON group, where they somehow or other water down the philosophy to attract new members. So I know that there was one devotee in Toronto, the GBC, former GBC guru, and he made a comment, "Oh, I don't like it when Prabhupada mentions the four regulated principles. I don't think that that's appropriate to say no intoxications, no gambling, no meat eating, and no illicit sex. We shouldn't bring that up to new people." So this is his concept of bridge preaching. And so this is something that's spread throughout the movement. And I wanted to, I'm not sure if our godbrother or our Bhakta Karen, who is, thank you, Bhakta Karen, for handling tonight's production. We are moving through transitions with devotees and training new people up to help us carry on with these classes weekly. And I wanted to, Bhakti Karen, do you have access to Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers, the book, by chance? If you don't, I'm going to read it anyway. And it's a section, Prabhus, that I wanted to highlight this evening, where Prabhupada's talking about people that accept many disciples in the disciplic succession, and they run risk of suffering severe karmic reaction to that service that they claim. And Prabhupada makes it very clear in this section of Perfect Questions and Perfect Answers that when you do that, you could suffer reaction. Now, in order of the karma of the disciples that you accept. And unless you're a Uttama-ācārya or a qualified, bona fide spiritual leader, then this could be your demise. It could ruin you. So I'll read from page 58 of Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. Prabhupada, so a devotee, Bob Cohen says, so a devotee must work for everybody's liberation. And Prabhupada says, yes. A devotee must, work under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master, not imitate the best devotee, not imitate greatness, but follow in the footsteps of greatness. Shamasundar, once you said that sometimes you feel sickness or pain due to the sinful activities of your devotees. Can disease sometimes be due to that? He asks. Prabhupada answers. You see, Krishna says, Aham tvam sava papebhyo moksha yasyami ma suchaha. I will deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. Krishna is so powerful that he can take up all the sins of others and immediately make them right. But when a living entity acts on behalf of Krishna, Here's the key. He also takes the responsibility for the sinful activities of his devotees. Is that clear? Therefore, to become a guru is not an easy task. You see, he has to take all the poisons and absorb them. So sometimes, because he is not Krishna, there is some trouble. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has forbidden, don't make many disciples. Forbidden. I'm going to make a quick comment, and I apologize, I don't want to go off in tangents. One of our godbrothers, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, has initiated over 75,000 disciples. Now, Prabhupada has quoted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has forbidden, don't make many shishya, many disciples. But for preaching work, we have to accept many disciples for expanding preaching, even if we suffer. That's a fact. So Prabhupada, in this particular situation, he was accepting a lot of people who were not following the rules and regulations, and as a result, he was getting reaction. But being a pure devotee, he was able to sustain himself despite the difficulty. But in the case of some of these people, and there have been hundreds of thousands of people initiated by these ISKCON gurus, they're all subjected to these karmic reactions of these people. And that is serious. The spiritual master has to take responsibility for all the sinful activities of his disciples. Therefore, to make many disciples is a risky job unless one is able to assimilate all sins. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripasindhu bhayevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Keep going. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all Vaishnava devotees. They are just like desire trees who can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. He takes responsibility for all the fallen souls. The idea is also in the Bible. Jesus Christ took all the sinful reactions of the people and sacrificed his life. That is the responsibility of a spiritual master. Because Krishna is Krishna, he is apapa vidha. He cannot be attacked by sinful reactions. But a living entity is sometimes subjected to their influence because he is so small. Big fire, small fire. If you put some big thing in a small fire, the fire itself may be extinguished. But in a big fire, whatever you put in is all right. The big fire can consume anything. But a bogus spiritual master can't. Bob Cohen, Christ's sufferings was of that nature. Prabhupada, Bob Cohen was Christ's suffering. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. That I've already explained. He took the sinful reactions of all the people. Therefore, he suffered. Bob, I see. Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, he said that it is in the Bible that he took all the sinful reactions of the people and sacrificed his life. But these Christian people have made it a law for Christ to suffer while they do all nonsense. Bob gives a short laugh. Such great fools they are. They have let Jesus Christ make a contact for taking all their sinful reactions so they can go on with all nonsense. That is their religion. Christ was so magnanimous that he took all of their sins and suffered. But that does not induce them to stop all these sins. They have not come to that sense. They have taken it very easily. Let Jesus Christ suffer, and we do all nonsense. Is it not? So Prabhupada's explaining Christian philosophy very, very clearly to all of us. Srila Prabhupada, Bob says it is so. Srila Prabhupada, they should have been ashamed that Lord Jesus Christ suffered for us, but we are continuing the sinful activities. He told everyone, thou shalt not kill, but they are indulging in killing, thinking, Lord Jesus Christ will excuse us and take all our sinful reactions. This is going on. We should be very much cautious. For my sinful actions, my spiritual master will suffer, so I will not commit even a pinch of sinful activities. Just a quick side. Just see all these bogus gurus in ISKCON, how they've broken the rules and regulations. As gurus, can you imagine the sinful reaction that comes from that? That is the duty of the disciple. After initiation, all sinful reaction is finished. Now, if he again commits sinful activities, his spiritual master has to suffer. A disciple should be sympathetic and consider this. For my sinful activities, my spiritual master will suffer. If the spiritual master is attacked by some disease, it is due to the sinful activities of others. Just look at Jayapataka and his face and see. Don't make many disciples, but we do it because we are preaching. Never mind, let us suffer. Still, we should accept them. So Prabhupada is in this role, but these other people, no. Therefore, your question was, when I suffer, is it due to my past misdeeds? Was it not? That is my misdeed that I accepted some disciples who are nonsense. That is my misdeed. Bob says this happens on occasions, and Prabhupada will finish up. Yes, this is sure to happen because we are accepting so many men. It is the duty of the disciples to be cautious. My spiritual master has saved me. I shall not put him again in suffering. When the spiritual master is in suffering, Krishna saves him. Krishna thinks, oh, he has taken so much responsibility for delivering a fallen person, so Krishna is there. So, was that very interesting, Roshisha? Is that very interesting? Is so illuminating the information that Prabhupada has shared in these perfect questions and perfect answers. And we're going to be working with this book and other books to make sure that this bridge preaching nonsense that's going on in ISKCON stops in due course. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the absolute truth that he preached to all of us that should not be changed, adulterated, or misconstrued due to the motivation of people who are only interested in profit, adoration, and distinction. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental preaching to all of us. We'll move forward now with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, and then we'll have our Caitanya-caritāmṛta reading with His Grace, the wonderful Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. I know he hates that. The wonderful godbrother of ours who's sharing his insights with us in these classes and discussions on Prabhupada's original books. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Check the audio, Prabhu. Thank you.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jayam Swatharam Vigrajagacharya Chittara Sadasaman Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridham ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Navadvip Dham ki Jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. Ganga Mai ki Jai. Jamuna Mai ki Jai. Tulasi Devi ki Jai. Bhakti Devi ki Jai. Swami Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram cheva narottamam. Naram cheva narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Tato Jayam Mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead, Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. As we do every week, we will read a few selected verses from the Adi Lila itself, from chapter 1, text 18 through 22, which explains the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityānanda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Etina Thakur Gaudiyake Parikarya Chenay Atmasat Etinera Charanavandan Tirimoninath. These 3 deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Grantera Rambikari Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smarani Ai Vigna Vinashana Anayase Ai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Simangala charanoi trivida prakar vastu nirdesha shiravada namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. We will proceed with our reading. We will be reading from Adi Lila, chapter 5, text number 37. Text number 37. No, text number 34, page 398. 398. This reading is being conducted on the basis of the original, non-adulterated 1974 version of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, all synonyms, translation, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text 34. Surya Mandala Yena Bahiri Nirvishesha Bhitare Suryera Rata Adi Sabishesha. Surya Mandala, the sun globe. Yena, like. Bahire, externally. Nirvishesha, without varieties. Bhitare, within. Suryera, of the sun god. Rata Adi, opulences like chariots and other things. Sabhishesha, full of varieties. Translation: it is like the homogeneous effulgence around the sun. Text 34. It is like the homogeneous effulgence around the sun, but inside the sun are the chariots, horses, and other opulences of the sun god. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Outside of Vaikuntha, the abode of Krishna, which is called Paravyoma, is the glaring effulgence of Krishna's bodily rays. This is called the Brahma Jyoti. The transcendental region of that effulgence is called Siddhaloka or Brahmaloka. When impersonalists achieve liberation, they merge in that Brahmaloka effulgence. This transcendental region is undoubtedly spiritual, but it contains no manifestations of spiritual activities or variegatedness. It is compared to the glow of the sun. Within the sun's glow is the sphere of the sun, where one can experience all sorts of varieties. Text number 35. Kamadveshad bhayat snehad yata bhaktyeshware manaha avesha tadagam hitva bhavastad gatim gata. Kamat, influenced by lusty desire. Dveshat, by envy. Bhayat, by fear. Snehat, or by affection. Yata, as. Bhaktya, by devotion. Ishwari, in the supreme personality of Godhead. Manaha, the mind. Aveshya, fully absorbing. Tat, that. Agham, sinful activity. Hitva, giving up. Bahavaha, many. Tat, that. Gatim, destination. Gataha, achieve. Translation: as through devotion to the Lord, one can attain his abode. Many have attained that goal by abandoning their sinful activities and absorbing their minds in the Lord through lust, envy, fear, or affection. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. As the powerful sun by its glowing rays can purify all kinds of impurities, so the all-spiritual personality of Godhead can purify all material activities in the person he attracts. Even if one is attracted by Godhead in the mode of material lust, such attraction is converted into spiritual love of Godhead by His grace. Similarly, if one is related to the Lord in fear and animosity, he also becomes purified by the spiritual attraction of the Lord. Although God is great and the living entity small, they are spiritual individuals, and therefore, as soon as there is a reciprocal exchange by the living entity's free will, at once the great spiritual being attracts the small living entity, thus freeing him from all material bondage. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 7:129, text number 36. Yadarinam priyanam cha prapyamekam iboditam tad brahma krishna yorekyat kiranarko pamajusho. Yat, that, arinam, of the enemies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, priyanam, of the devotees who are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Cha, and, prapyam, destination, ekam, one only, eva, thus, uditam, said, tat, that, Brahma, of impersonal Brahman, Krishna yo, and of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ekyat, due to the oneness, Kirana, the sunshine, Arka, and the sun, Upama, the comparison, Jushohu, which is understood by, translation. Where it has been stated that the Lord's enemies and devotees attain the same destination, this refers to the ultimate oneness of Brahman and Lord Krishna. This may be understood by the example of the sun and the sunshine, in which Brahman is like the sunshine and Krishna himself is like the sun. I believe I made a mistake because I think we read this entire purport last week, and rightfully we should have been with text 37. We'll read text 37 and 38, and then we'll go on. Taiche paravyomin anachid chakti vilas nirvishesha jyotirbimba bahiri prakash. Taiche, in that way, paravyome, in the spiritual sky, nana, varieties, chit shakti vilasa, pastimes of spiritual energy, nirvishesha, impersonal, jyotihi, of the effulgence, bimba, reflection, bahire, externally, prakasha, manifested. Translation. Thus, in the spiritual sky, there are varieties of pastimes within the spiritual energy. Outside the Vaikuntha planets appears the impersonal reflection of light. Text 38. Nirvishesha Brahma se kevala jyotirmaya sayujher adhikaritanrapaya laya. Nirvishesha Brahma, the impersonal Brahman effulgence, say that, kevala, only, jyotihi maya, effulgent rays, sayujera, the liberation called sayujya, oneness with the Supreme, adhikari, one who is fit for, tanha, there in the impersonal Brahman effulgence, Paya, gets, laya, merging. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. That impersonal Brahman effulgence consists of the effulgent rays of the Lord. Those fit for Sayujya liberation merge into that effulgence. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityānanda Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad Vandanam Kadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadate Visheshataham Adadana Srinam Danteridam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Sarvata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Chat Karomishvam Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. As we often discussed as part of this program, we have mentioned that in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 4, text number 11, Krishna nicely describes Yeya tamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyaham, that as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Basically, this also applies to the impersonalists. The impersonalists are reluctant to take up the path of bhakti or pure devotional service. So they take up the path of impersonal practice, as we find in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, where the discussion is coming up on the Saturday mornings, where Arjuna is asking Krishna of these two paths, the path of impersonalism and the path of personalism, which is the best, which is the easiest? And we will find as we read all the different texts that Krishna nicely explains that the path of devotional service is the best and easiest. Now, when we look back in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, after Lord Krishna has explained so many different yoga practices and yoga paths, Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana Sraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. That the best yogi is one who is engaged in devotion to me. That is the best yogi. Now, the question comes, why are so many people taking up the difficult path? Well, that is why great acharyas come. We recite every day, Namaum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityānanda. In the second verse, Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine, that we offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada, who is preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Specifically, where is he preaching this? He was ordered and deputed by his Guru Maharaj, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, to preach Paschatya in the Western countries, Deshatarine. But then he is refuting Nirvishesha Shunyavadi, this impersonalism and voidism. Now, it's very difficult for many persons to take up to the pure path of bhakti unless they come in contact and surrender to a pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada. We've often discussed that Srila Prabhupada used to often quote a line from the Chandogya Upanishad, Acharyavan Purusho Veda, that one who has surrendered to the Acharya will understand things as they are. He will know everything. And this is the mercy and the compassion of the pure devotee. If one submissively hears the message of the pure devotee, one will understand. Now, this has nothing to do with physical proximity or living presence. This has to do with oral reception. We've all read in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto, where Srila Prabhupada describes how do we recognize a sadhu. And Prabhupada says, you recognize a sadhu not by seeing, but by hearing. One has to learn to hear the message. This is a very important point. We see in the Ishavasya Upanishad, the Isha Upanishad, the recommendation is given. Iti Shushrumadhiranam, one should hear from the self-realized Acharya, one who is the actual self-realized Acharya, who is not subject to the influence of the material nature, who is completely liberated. That kind of Acharya one should submit to. Now, as we have discussed, part of these discussions are somewhat controversial with some people who've not cared to hear properly the message of the Acharya, who rely on their own physicality or their own physical proximity to the Acharya, or person who may have been constantly, as Prabhupada uses the words in one of his purports in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, who remained constantly with the spiritual master, but yet they did not hear the message properly. And they were swept away by so many mental speculations, mental concoctions, and deviations. There's a very interesting conversation in the Prabhupada Conversation book where Srila Prabhupada quotes his Guru Maharaj talking about his disciples. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, and according to our Srila Prabhupada, when our men will become sahajya, they will become more dangerous. Sahajya means they take everything cheaply. They do not properly study the scriptures. And they do not follow the path of the acharyas. They concoct, they manufacture different interpretations. These are all different characteristics of sahajiyas. And the danger of these kind of interpretations, it deviates from the path of bhakti. We've seen in Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's a warning by Rupa Goswami about the practice of bhakti, the practice of devotional service. He says, Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatikri Vidim Vina, that this kind of bhakti which does not follow the Shruti, the Smriti, and the Pancharatrika, Ekantiki Hare Bhaktir Utpatayeva Kalpate. He uses the word utpat. Utpat means disturbance, unnecessary disturbance in human society, in devotional society and in human society. And this has been practically experienced. And we've seen as soon as we bring out some of these deviated characteristics or some of these problems, some people would protest, oh, why are you talking like this? Why are you criticizing? Why are you doing this? Because it has to be done to correctly understand the teachings, to correctly understand the instruction, to follow properly the path of the Acharya. That's why Prabhupada didn't say, just read the books and close it. No. He said, read my books and discuss everything from all angles of vision. We practically seen this when we were in Badger, California, around the time of the Prabhupada Centennial. Some of us were invited to come to Los Angeles for a celebration and discussion, and people wanted to hear stories about Srila Prabhupada. And one devotee called me and says, well, we don't want you and this other devotee who often comes to our program, Puranjan, to read some of these papers or distribute some of these controversial papers. I said, what's in these papers that is so difficult to understand? Oh, the management doesn't want to hear it. Okay, thank you. Why? What happened to Prabhupada's instruction to discuss everything from all angles of vision? This is the difference between bona fide Vaishnavism and Sahaja Vaishnavism. Sahaja Vaishnavism don't want to discuss philosophy, controversial issues. No. They take everything very cheaply. And therefore, they come up with the wrong conclusions. They come up with the wrong spiritual practices. Prabhupada had made things very clear in his books, in his conversations, in his letters. Everything has been given. Why are they going outside of Prabhupada's instruction? I was told a very interesting story when Prabhupada went to India in the beginning. One time he stopped by a tea shop and there were some people drinking tea and reading the newspapers. And Prabhupada says, do not come to this. Some of my godbrothers, after the disappearance of Guru Maharaj, they came to this, drinking tea and reading the newspapers. How much literature is Prabhupada given? How much literature have our previous acharyas given? How many pertinent instructions have they given? But when somebody is bewildered by false ego and personal ambition, what I call the 3 Ps, the posing, posturing, and pretending, then these things will happen. And it's very dangerous because it's insidious. It is not so easy to detect. Somebody may have the tilak, the dhoti, the shaven head, the kurta, the danda, whatever, the external symptoms. But the real test is when the controversial issues come up, whether they're going to run away or really discuss it. And when they cannot make their point, are they going to change and admit they're wrong? Well, we know the answer to that. They won't. We know they'll threaten, they'll beat people, they'll walk away, beating, banning, suing. They will even take people to court because they don't agree with their interpretation. I know for practical fact of what took place in 1978. When we tried to discuss controversial issues with some of these people, their attitude was like, well, Prabhupada says we're in charge of managing this movement, therefore it's the way it is. It's going to be this way. But when we pointed out this way that you've chosen, this is not the way that Prabhupada discussed and implemented in the last few months of his manifested presence. But they could not hear because their mind was so polluted by this pratishtha, this desire for name, fame, power, prestige, adoration, profit, adoration, distinction, and a long laundry list of things that have nothing to do with Krishna Bhakti. Instead, they chose the path of treating people like enemies. Treat people like enemies and castigate them out of the society. This is not the platform of bhakti that Prabhupada gave us. All the acharyas, even in our sampradaya, Baladeva Bhushana, he confronted so many persons who were very critical of the worship of Radha Govinda in Jaipur. All the great acharyas like Madhva, Vedanta Deshika, Jayatirtha, Vyasa, they all debated. They all discussed things in the open. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our own Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He didn't walk away when he was in Benares and the followers of Prakashananda Saraswati challenged him. He went there and he presented exactly the perfect philosophy. When Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was criticizing Lord Chaitanya, the followers of Lord Chaitanya straightened him out. And eventually Lord Chaitanya debated with him and convinced him. But nowadays we have a philosophy of might is right. We're in charge, we're in power, you should do everything we say and shut up. I call it parampara pablum. Just accept. Just accept whatever we say. Oh, really? So what is it that you say? What is it based on? That is why many devotees, after all the experiences they've had, are reevaluating the veracity and the truth of what they're hearing from these kind of people. Because they see that there are many contradictions between what Srila Prabhupada says and what many of these so-called managers say, self-appointed acharyas say, voted in elected acharyas say. Our authority is the actual acharya in our sampradaya, Srila Prabhupada. Or many people don't like it. There is one of these neo-mat preachers that say, oh, Prabhupada was not the founder of ISKCON. Somebody else was the founder of ISKCON. Oh, really? He was not the founder of ISKCON. Okay. So this is what happened when people reject the authority of the acharya. They become bewildered and speak all kinds of nonsense. That is why these kinds of discussions are important, very important. In 1975 in Vrindavan, the entire town of Vrindavan wanted to arrange a special meeting to honor Srila Prabhupada and his accomplishments for spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world. And when local Goswami tried to stop the meeting, he was preaching against having the meeting to glorify Prabhupada, because Prabhupada had made a statement in a Bhaktivedanta magazine that some of the Goswamis in Vrindavan who engage in sinful activities will take their births as turtle, monkeys, and hogs in Vrindavan before they can go back to Godhead. And this Goswami was livid and furious, and he stopped the meeting. And Srila Prabhupada, not for his own personal glory, but he threatened to take this person to court to prove that he was not a Goswami. And he told another Goswami who had come to try to make peace, if this person pursues this kind of action, I'll bring thousands of my disciples outside of his place there, and we will chant to expose him, and we'll file a lawsuit in Mathura. And this went on for 2 days. Prabhupada would not let go of this point, that those people who are simply attached to sense gratification are not Goswamis. They're not real followers of Lord Chaitanya. They are pretenders. And Prabhupada just was livid. It was not a personal issue of not being glorified. He was sticking out. He was preaching the correct Siddhanta, the correct position. And this is a very important point, because I've heard so many complaints against some of my friends and associates. Oh, why do they speak like this? Why do they speak like that? Why do they criticize him? And my reply, did they change the books? Did they kick devotees out of the temple? Did they molest children? Did they abuse women? No, none of these devotees have done any of this. Therefore, these discussions are very important and should be welcome. In the Caitanya-caritāmṛta itself, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, Siddhanta balye nakara alas. Alas means laziness. One should not be lazy to discuss Siddhanta. Why? Because by such discussion, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, Sudrida manas, one will become firmly convinced. So when somebody comes up with a nonsensical idea that is very common for acharyas to fall down and become debauchees and to run for illicit sexual activity with their disciples or their daughter, we don't accept this nonsense. As a matter of fact, there is a conversation in the Prabhupada Conversation book, and it was published in a little booklet called Our Living Guru, where this very question was asked of Srila Prabhupada. Whether the acharya has to be a pure devotee. And Prabhupada says, who is that rascal who says that the acharya is not a pure devotee? So there are so many nonsensical ideas that have been promoted under the guise of so-called authorities. That's why I call it parampara pablum. It is soft nonsense ideas that have no place in Gaudiya Vaishnavism or for the real follower, the serious followers of Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. And as usual, to whom it may concern. Hare Krishna.
Glories to Srila Prabhupada, our bona fide spiritual master, and thank you very much for that wonderful explanation of these verses from Caitanya-caritāmṛta and some insights into the current situation in the movement called ISKCON. And I wanted to go back to the verse that we were reading about the Brahman effulgence and the effort of a person to try to gain liberation in the Brahman, which Prabhupada explained is more or less committing spiritual suicide, because you lose your individuality, you lose your ability to operate with senses, and you simply become one with the universe. So this is not really liberation, but it is spiritual suicide. And we're going to go to the Nectar of Devotion, to a section here, in Purity of Devotional Service, which is explaining about the results of pure devotional service. Practically, there are 3 processes for elevating one to the platform of spiritual consciousness. These processes are called karma, jnana, and bhakti. Ritualistic performances are in the field of karma. Speculative processes are in the field of jnana. And one who is taken to bhakti, the devotional service of the Lord, need have nothing to do with karma or jnana, because devotional service is the highest level of spiritual activity for the soul. And to serve the pure devotee spiritual master is the perfection of bhakti yoga. It has already been explained that pure devotional service was without any tinge of karma and jnana. Bhakti should have no tinge of philosophical speculation or ritualistic performances. In this connection, Srila Rupa Goswami gives evidence from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, in which it is said by Lord Krishna to Uddhava, the distinction between qualification and disqualification may be made in this way. Persons who are already elevated in discharging devotional service will never again take shelter of the processes of fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. If one sticks to devotional service and is conducted by the regulated principles given by authorities and acharyas, that is the best qualification. And one should, just quickly, not commit offenses of blasphemy of other devotees while performing devotional service, not of Prabhupada or Prabhupada's disciples. Blasphemy will destroy your devotional creeper, and it may bring about very bad karma in your life. This is not a game of mental speculation and whimsical opinions by certain people that take up devotional service, think they have some knowledge, and then they have an opinion. No experience, no success, no results, but they have an opinion. Okay, have an opinion and see if you make advancement, if you're committing offenses while you're performing devotional service, blaspheming other devotees who have a record of devotional service and have a commitment to Prabhupada's legacy, and you blaspheme them. This statement is supported in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 5th chapter, 17th verse, wherein Sri Narada Muni advises Vyasadeva thusly: even if one does not execute his specific occupational duty, but immediately takes direct shelter of the lotus feet of Hare Krishna. There will be no fault on his part, and in all circumstances, his position is secure. Even if by some bad association, and that can happen. You associate with rumor mongers, fault finders, you will become affected by it. We have seen it. And this will ruin you. Even if by some bad association he falls down while executing devotional service, or if he doesn't finish the complete course of devotional service, excuse me, and dies untimely, still he is not at a loss. So there's some protection. A person who simply discharging his occupational duty in Varnashram, however, with no Krishna consciousness, practically does not gain the true benefit of human life. The purport is that all conditioned souls who are engaged very frankly in activities for sense gratification without knowing that this process will never help them get out of material contamination are awarded only repeated births and deaths. So devotional service should be performed without offenses. That is the important part of this section of Nectar of Devotion. You commit offenses, and that will be the stymieing of your bhakti lata bija. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further carry on.
Yeah, this is a very important point. Prabhupada many times emphasizes that devotees should remain steady on the path of bhakti, but even if there are problems, there is no loss. Even in the Bhagavad Gita itself, Krishna explains that there is no loss or diminution in this path of bhakti. Whatever has been done to satisfy Krishna or serve Krishna is never lost. But if one purposely and consciously misleads other people, that's a different category. Somebody who is innocent, who has problems, okay, we can understand that. There's a philosophical explanation from Srila Prabhupada with that. But what we're being confronted right now is people purposely and deliberately misleading others away from the shelter of the Acharya. They're putting a toll gate between themselves and Srila Prabhupada, and this is not acceptable. This bogus Acharya, that the Acharya is dead, and this bogus idea that the Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, is dead and gone, and now you're going to need a new special living guru to explain you the teaching of the Acharya, that is complete nonsense. As a matter of fact, there was one senior devotee in Florida who was preaching that people can no longer understand Srila Prabhupada's books unless they have the commentary and explanation of a senior devotee, of course, like himself. But this is not what Prabhupada says. Prabhupada so many times explained that people can read his books. This is like my good friend, Bhakti Ram Singh. One of the first things he told me after I met him several years ago, he quoted me that little verse from Chandogya Upanishad, Acharyavan Purusho Veda, and he explained to me how Srila Prabhupada explains it. The benefit of taking shelter of the Acharya was one will know everything. And this is why Prabhupada gave these books. That is extremely important. Maybe we should bring in some people like Ram Singh and Paranjan and others to make comments on these topics.
Exactly, we'll do that actually. And this situation that we're in is a war. Just like in America, they have the deep state that they describe has evolved in Washington, where there is so much misinformation, fake news, lies, slanderous statements, being made and propagated on the media that everybody is confused. Millions, tens of millions of people are confused by this propaganda war. And ISKCON, the ISKCON group, has been propagating misinformation ever since Keith Am and Gopal Krishna became gurus and started to initiate people. All bogus. But what has happened after 50 years of this nonsense? It's ingrained in the consciousness of the mission that Srila Prabhupada established and has been changed by a few serious, and some people refer to them as demoniac people. Yes, we have godbrothers that say that. They're demons, they're Ravanas. I wanted to mention Yaśodā-nandana before we go to Tim Paranjana and Ron Singh, that in Mexico City, there's been a temple for 50 years, I guess. A long time. Prabhupada came to Mexico and was preaching here actively, seeing the receptivity, Anandabhaya, of the people here in this country. It's quite remarkable. They're so pious. And I got information. I'm getting a lot of people coming over to visit me at Casa Gokula here in Mexico. And they're telling me what's going on in Mexico, all the fraudulent activities that have gone on with this Guru Prasad, who is the GBC guru, chairman of the GBC. And you know how many devotees, Prabhus, they have at the Mexico temple now? Nandabhaya, can you guess? Take a guess. Go ahead. Okay, that's 10, 2 handfuls. How about this?
3.
3. What a sin. Now, someone could say, well, why are you saying that, Vrishva? Well, I'm only showing you what the results of these people are in terms of who they're really attracting to become disciples and be part of the mission. In fact, here in Mexico, Yaśodā-nandana and myself assisted Krishna Kishore in initiating 3 people as Prabhupada disciples this week. And he has over 20 of members in his Namhata programs, much more actually, 50, 60, lots of people that are with us in our efforts to protect Prabhupada's legacy. And this is something that's very encouraging, everybody, because people are looking for truth. They're not looking to be gaslighted. I see that you put so many posts up, Nandabhaya, on the Facebook broadcasts about the fraudulent activities of a lot of these people. And this is unfortunate. Yes, it's very unfortunate. But the positive work that we're doing, and I wanted to make, I'm going to divert for a second. I wanted to make some news report that our current project, which is the printing of the Delhi Bhagavatams, is going along at a very good pace. And they will have an announcement soon when this small effort will be completed, and we'll have our Delhi Bhagavatams in circulation to all the people that have donated for it. And for those that want to buy the books, they will with us, because our job is to distribute print and distribute Prabhupada's books if we can, despite all the difficulties that may come because of the BBT and whatever goes on. We're only a small group, a humble group, and we're doing it for our own benefits to find some shelter in this world of opinion. Everybody has an opinion, but not everybody knows the facts. And the Prabhupada Disciples Association, we have lived this life, myself and Yaśodā-nandana, for over 118 years combined. And we have seen the terrible things that have gone on. And we're carrying on despite the difficulty to try to still protect Prabhupada's legacy in 2024. Tim Lee, and we'll get Ron Singh and Nepal to speak. Tim Lee first. Paranjana, I'm sorry for calling you Tim Lee. You're known as both names. Paranjana, maybe you could share a few comments on today's discussion. Paranjana, he's Anandabai, he's always having trouble to push the button.
Hello, hi, Bo.
Oh, there he is. I knew it. Even though
No,
I can't see you, I was guessing. Go ahead, please.
I had a message come on my screen, and it says the host has unmuted you. So I tried to unmute myself, but anyway, it is what it is. But
We've got a new production person helping us, Bhakti Karen,
okay.
and thank you, Bhakti Karen, for stepping up and enabling this broadcast. And of course, we've got Rupesh in the background helping him. Go ahead, Tim Lee.
Yeah, okay. Well, as usual, I'm engaged in a lot of controversial different things going on with different people, but I think I'm making progress with the Gaur Govinda people on this issue of the Jiva Tattva. You know, Gaur Govinda made a statement that the GBC made a resolution that the souls do not fall from the Brahman, you know, they fall from Vaikuntha. And so I made a point, I said, no, you know, Prabhupada made the Back to Godhead magazine at a time when there was no GBC. How did that ever come about that people thought the GBC made the title Back to Godhead? That's impossible. And so then I also described how devotees came to Prabhupada when we were in Mayapur, and they said, the God brothers are complaining about Back to Godhead, and Prabhupada said, they don't know we were once with Krishna because they're tinged with Mayavada. So I put that quote into their forum, and they allowed that quote. And then someone came forward and said, well, that's Apasiddhanta. That's not right. And I said, well, I grew up, you know, as a Christian with the idea that there's angels in heaven who start in heaven and they stay in heaven, which is your idea. And then there's other souls who are not superior souls, obviously. There are lesser class of souls who end up falling into the material world for some unknown reason. You know, the Christians don't have a good explanation, and neither do you. What is your explanation? How did the souls fall? Where did they fall from? You know, so I put that up, and I said, so your idea is very similar to the Vatican idea that some souls start in heaven and stay there with God perpetually, and then some lesser class souls do not. And this would make God the cause of the fallen souls. So obviously we can't agree with that because it is very close to the Christian church. But anyway, again, same thing. They allowed that post to stay. Not only that, the moderator put a little like on it that he agreed. So I think they're starting to see that this is not something that was just fabricated by the GBC. This was actually a long-standing disagreement that Prabhupada has had with the God brothers who didn't understand that we do not come from Brahman. So this is a big step, I think, for them to allow that and to not only allow, but even agree with that point. So I think that's on so many issues, we're making progress. But again, where did this come from? This all came from the Gaudiya Math. After Prabhupada left, they went to Sridhar. Sridhar started this whole idea. We don't fall from Vaikuntha, we fall from Brahman. And the GBC promoted that. So they created their own, deviation from this point. And so we have to go through every single. So a lot of times people say, well, it's the guru issue. Well, actually, it's every issue. It's Jiva Tattva, it's Guru Tattva, it's Krishna Tattva, it's every Tattva that has been modified and changed and disrupted and reversed and all the rest of it. So that's all I wanted to say. We are making progress. Haribol.
Yes, we are. And the fact of the matter is, when you introduce changes to books, Prabhupada's books, and then you continually change them. We saw recently, Nandabhai, I think you probably saw it on Facebook, all the different covers of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. How many there are. And there looks like about 16 of them from the original authorized cover that Srila Prabhupada had sanctioned back then. So the change disease is a very serious issue. It's prevalent in Christianity because there is an indication in Christianity of reincarnation. No, being raised as a Roman Catholic and indoctrinated in their teachings for 12 years, let's say, from grade 1 to grade 11 or grade 12, they have a concept called purgatory. Now, purgatory is a state where you go and you stay there in a suspended animation. Because they haven't been able to decide, this is what they concocted, whether you should go to heaven or hell. So you go to purgatory. And then whoever's there decides eventually, okay, we're going to give you another chance. You can come back to earth and be reincarnated and have another chance. So change of books is very serious. When you change books, the meaning of the books, the teachings of the religious leader like Jesus, or in our case, Srila Prabhupada, they changed his books. This change disease is a true cancer, and we must, all of us, stop it as soon as we can for the protection of humanity. Ron Singh in Nepal. Ron's in Nepal, India these days. Are you there, Ron Singh? Can you get the microphone?
Yeah, it's unmuted now. Thank you very much for the classes, Jai. Acharya Van Purusha Veda. If we want to follow, remember this is a voluntary process. Krishna consciousness is a voluntary process. And during this whole process, we retain our free will. In dialectic spiritualism, Srila Prabhupada says even Krishna doesn't know what the living entity will do because the living entity has free will. Srila Prabhupada gives the original books. He comes down, he teaches by example, and then he trains up his disciples. And then he gives further instructions on the management of the system, the BBT, how the new temples are to be opened. Everything is documented in his original.
Yes.
There's so many important factors of Krishna consciousness. So as disciples, as students, as aspirants trying to understand this Krishna consciousness, we should have a full perspective of the whole Krishna Consciousness movement, not only Srila Prabhupada's movement, but Prabhupada also talks about his spiritual masters movement, how it disintegrated because they failed to follow the instructions of the predecessor Acharya. So we as students, disciples, followers of Srila Prabhupada, we should be aware. Yes. And whenever we use these terms like GBC, BBTI, BBT, we should know that Prabhupada has discussed this from 1965 all the way till 1977. He made explicit written comments, signed instructions, and then we should have a proper understanding. Okay, BBT means Prabhupada's original books. GBC means that Prabhupada's original directions, giving the direction of management. And then temple means how Prabhupada had wanted the temples to continue independently of any GBC Society West Bengal. These terms are all muddled in and people it's seen. And then when we use these terms incorrectly, Prabhupada defined all these things very clearly. So I would like for disciples, Prabhupada's disciples, at least everyone to get a proper understanding of these terms. So they have a correct understanding. Okay, yes, BBT means Prabhupada's original books. GBC means a governor who sets an ideal example and then helps the local congregation, not dictates to the congregation, makes gurus, then falls down and they get new gurus. This is all a concoction. So the more we learn, the greater our understanding.
Okay, we're having a little bit of
appreciate Srila Prabhupada's magnanimous nature. That I said Srila Prabhupada saw all these things. That's why he wrote all these instructions down for us to follow.
And thank you, Ron. You're having a little bit of trouble with
others.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prabhu's.
Haribol. Anandabhaya, any comments today as we move to the end of the program, and we're going to have Yaśodā-nandana speak at the end. Any comments you'd like as a dissenter of the ISKCON group?
Let's see. It was very, very nice to be here with you guys tonight, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. I was recalling a week, maybe a month back. I have this friend within ISKCON who she likes me. She lives close to me. She likes me, but she doesn't agree with the path I've taken. So sometimes we have little conversations. And recently there was one really well-known sannyasi that was exposed, and we all know who that was.
Giriraj?
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah. Yes,
okay, go
Giriraj.
ahead.
And I was trying to explain to her that he can't take anybody home. And does she understand that? And she said, well, she said, when sannyasis fell down, Prabhupada, boosted him back up. I said, okay, just a minute. I said, you can't use that story on this. I said, he may have been a sannyasi, but he was not a Diksha guru, and he was just a young boy. And so it was rightly so that Prabhupada would be encouraging him to pick it back up and try again. But that was not the standard for his gurus. I said, especially a 70-year-old Diksha guru, this is not the standard at all. And this person cannot and has not ever been able to take anybody home on their own. And she just couldn't see that. They just get in this, like you were saying earlier, they get in this state of mind from what all the brainwashing they have taken in over the years, and they can't get past what they already think to a new concept. To them, it's a new concept that these guys can't take you home. It's like, what? are you talking about? So,
Yeah, it's the deep state of ISKCON. It's really it's been perpetrated for so many years, and there's so many lies, so much gaslighting, telling people things that are not true, and blatantly lying about them, without any remorse, and then twisting the philosophy, like you said. They use a quote from Prabhupada. That is not what Prabhupada was trying to teach us when he was creating sannyasis. No. In fact, he canceled the sannyas order because it became a fiasco. So many of these people were falling down. Look at the case of Gunagrahi. He confessed that he had been watching pornographic videos for 18 years as a sannyasi guru. Now, someone saying to you or me, well, don't say that. Well, what? It's true. What do you want me to pretend that it isn't true? That Nityānanda was a pedophile? That Satsrup is a maniac? That all these people, the Bhaktivedanta who mistreated our children in Mayapur didn't do it, and now he's hiding in Finland?
yeah.
People that don't accept this fact are stupid, and these should be politely told, go away, because you can't change them. And then they'll get mad at you. Why are you like that? Why am I like that?
That's what she tells me. She says, Andabaya, this is none of your business. Why do you make it your business to expose all these people? I said, it's everybody's business, Mata. It's your business. She's like, she used to edit books for Srila Prabhupada. She's a very senior disciple in her 70s. And she's telling me, why do you do this? And I'm like, if you would read Prabhupada's books again, I know you read them once and I know you edited them, but if you would read them again and see how much he was against anybody duping others, and how much he wanted us to expose these these incongruencies, then you would also be helping me in doing this too. Like, whatever.
Yeah. Look, and we should be calm, all of us. I call it the world of opinion. This lady that you know, she has an opinion about the philosophy. Is it right? No. Are you going to convince her otherwise? No. So we carry on, and you look for people that are receptive, like to this way of understanding Guru Tattva, and the fact that Prabhupada lives in his Vani incarnation, which is dynamic. It's really there. But if people don't read the books, they're never going to be able to experience it. We're getting close to the end of the program. And thank you everyone for being on this lively discussion on a Thursday night. Yaśodā-nandana, maybe you give us some concluding words before we move to the kirtan.
I've had several devotees bring up to me the point that Prabhupada mentioned on January 7th, 1977 in Bombay, India, that there should be no more sannyas in ISKCON. As a matter of fact, Tom Chevalier here in the comments, he quoted from Srila Prabhupada, this should be strictly outlawed, no more sannyasis. And those sannyasis who are following you getting married. No more, this show bottle cheating is very ludicrous. So what is the position of all these people, whether knowingly or unknowingly, who got their so-called sannyas after 1977, therefore disobeying that instruction of Srila Prabhupada? When people say, well, there's so many problems with this, well, that's one of the results when you disobey the instruction and the order of the Srila Prabhupada, as pointed out by Bhaktivedanta here, that the instruction is pretty clear. The leaders did not like it because it was not politically convenient to building their empires of sold-out followers. This is the problem. All kinds of interpretation and false interpretation comes up when there is personal motivation. They will twist, they will distort, they will invent and manufacture different meanings or ignore the plain meaning of what Prabhupada says. And then the result is 46 years later, you got a whole long history of people who should not have been there. So this is a very important point. And this relates to so many instructions, whether it's book changes, deity worship, offering the bhoga, initiations, kirtan, everything. They all have some interpretation of why they can change this, change that, do this, do that. But Prabhupada didn't compromise. He made it very simple. Again, that story in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta is so relevant, the story of Kaliyadaha, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was instructing his followers who wanted to go see Krishna in the lake, the Kaliya lake. And Prabhupada in this purport says, unless one cannot understand things as they are, even though he may remain constantly with the spiritual master, unless one hears submissively from the spiritual master. So the point is, so many people may have had a lot of constant physical association with Prabhupada. That is nice. We don't criticize that. But that doesn't entitle somebody to think they know better than everybody else, because we've seen that even these people have made monumental blunders and mistakes. Pretty simple. Hare Krishna.
Okay, well, that's a class. And thank you, everyone, for joining the discussions and being a part of the spirit of protecting Prabhupada's legacy in his Vani incarnation. And do not be afraid of anyone or anything, because the truth, and it says it in the Bible, will set you free. And our position is, we study Prabhupada's books critically under the leadership of Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu. And he is an amazing leader for us in that direction. And we applaud him for his diligent work and his thorough understanding of Prabhupada's instructions and his transmitting them to all of us free of charge. Not one penny, just the desire to please his spiritual master. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees. And let's move forward with a 2.5-minute kirtan being led by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami back in the 60s. So chant along. We'll do the Vanchakalpa prayers, and we'll see you or hear from you on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and other times around the world for the Bhagavad Gita as it is class. And thank you, Bhakta Karan and Rupesh Charan, for jumping in and helping us with this production tonight. All glories to your service. All glories to the Sankirtan movement. Go to the video, please, if you can.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances. We all offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and we're full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks, everybody, for participating in this lively program. Vishwakarma Prabhu in Mexico, and we have Andabaya Mataji in North Carolina, and Puranjan, who is actually gone for now, Dr. Rupesh in Bombay, India, Dr. Karen in, I don't know, Trinidad, I believe. So thanks, everybody, for participating. We look
Mother
forward to
Rochisha in Montreal.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
C'est très beau. C'est très beau.
Yeah.
So thanks, everybody. We invite all of you to come back on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, corresponding to 10 o'clock Eastern Time or Montreal time. And we all humbly request that you take full shelter of Srila Prabhupada and his wonderful teachings. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.